Hello everyone, today I want to talk about atmospheric room system 9 years later. Exactly 9 years ago, CIG showed us a video about the atmospheric room system, something Chris and CIG still want. I will show you the video first, then we are talking about the recent engineering tech preview that was in hands of Evocati.
So this level demonstrates the room system and atmosphere containers. The room system and atmosphere containers are used to create boundaries for our space stations and ships and places in the game where we want there to be pressurization of different gas levels. It's something that we've to date faked in the game with the airlocks, and if you go into an airlock without a spacesuit, you'll die. But the system in place that does that isn't very general, and it doesn't allow for emergent gameplay. What we're working on now is a system that is a more proper way to handle pressurization and depressurization in the game. And it's still pretty early days for this. As you can see, this test level just has some basic boxes and shapes that define the room volumes, and we have some test assets in here just to play around with it. The spheres that are inside these volumes represent the atmospheric composition. So here the blue spheres are oxygen, and the red spheres indicate that that room has been filled with carbon dioxide. The room system uses three main types of entities. One is the atmosphere container, which is the thing that has the atmospheric composition. So for instance, if I come over here and look at this debug output, I can see that the composition in this particular room is 0.8% oxygen and 0.12% carbon dioxide. But if I walk into space, I have nothing. There's no atmosphere here. So the atmosphere container is a very important part. The next one is the room. The room indicates the volume and the boundaries for the atmosphere that's connected to it. Later on, this will also be used to indicate security and power connectivity. But for now, we're just working with atmosphere. So that's atmosphere containers, rooms, and then the third important type is the room connector. So here, there's the yellow box around this door. This yellow box indicates that there's a connection between this room here and outer space. Now, the room system uses these room connectors to try to create pressure equalization between different areas, between the two spaces that the room connector connects. In this instance, the room connector is connecting a room to outer space. So if I open this door, the oxygen levels in the room are going to drop. If I walk into the room, we can get some debug output to see that, yes, the pressure in the room is dropping rather quickly. And the pressure in the adjacent rooms is also dropping, although less quickly because it has to traverse through the room connectors. Now, having a system like this is really nice because it allows for more emergent gameplay. I could, for instance, close this door and close this door off, and keep the pressure, or keep the depressurization localized to a certain space. Or I could reopen the door and allow for the oxygen levels in the other room to fill up this space so that the people on this side of the space station don't die. As you can tell, the room system is still pretty early days. We just now hooked it up to audio, and we plan on hooking it up to the player behavior and visuals soon. But for now, we're still developing it, and I look forward to having this into Star Citizen, which I think is going to allow for some rather interesting gameplay.
Here's a leak from a recent tech preview that was in hands of Evocati. He's now in space. Inside is one atmosphere. He's opening the door. Now air should rush out and players should get pushed out of the door. But look how slowly atmosphere is going down inside. We are still at 0.7 atmosphere. This looks like a small leak, not like opening a big door. Yeah, we are still at 0.6 atmosphere. Maybe CIG should read a book. This would be a massive depressurization. Yes, there's room behind us too, But still, air would rush out way more quickly, and player would get pushed out. And even if the ship systems, for some strange reasons, could replenish the air almost as quickly as the air is rushing out, this would still generate a massive decompression event. It would look more like this. I would like to point out this is not an atmospheric room system yet. The door to space is open, he is crossing an invisible line between two rooms, and suddenly his air pressure jumps to normal. Each room just gets assigned a certain pressure and temperature, no matter if a door between two rooms is open or not, or no matter if a door to space is open.
The removal of oxygen, for example, locking off the area, venting the oxygen, creating a vacuum.
This was CRG's presentation at SilsonCon 2023. Well, we don't have this yet, except the one room that is directly connected to a vacuum does actually lose air pressure, but very, very slowly, much too slow. Would I love to see an atmospheric room system in a game? Absolutely. An atmospheric room system would have so much gameplay attached to it. For example, you can just vent the atmosphere when you have intruders on board, and they would get pushed out of the ship, and you could use this to fight fires. However, most ships, even newer ones, are not built for an atmospheric room system in mind. There's no airlock between elevator and ship. Elevator down. Hull C doesn't even have a door, an airlock between elevator and outside. So if you're in space, this whole area gets vented. Raft, elevator. There's a door between elevator and first floor, but nothing between elevator and top floor. So if you're in space and you're using the elevator, the whole top section gets exposed to the vacuum of space. Asgard Valkyrie, if you're in space, you want to leave, you have to open the big ramp or the side doors, and this whole area gets exposed to the vacuum of space. You have to pump out a lot of air. This is not exactly a fantastic design. Something I find very interesting, an old design like Andromeda is built well for an atmospheric room system. This is the front elevator, let's go up. There's an airlock built into the front elevator, and doors to the cockpit are closed. However, it's not all bad with ships in Star Citizen. Corsair is not a new design, but she isn't very old, and she has doors between elevator and inside. Mess hall. Corsair is built with an atmospheric room system in mind. Why are so many ships not built with this in mind? If Chris still wants it, is beyond me. I have no idea. It seems like reworks of reworks of reworks of reworks is the name of the game, because having a plan, having a concept, thinking in advance, thinking things through is for other people, but not for Chris and CIG. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Bye. Auf Wiedersehen. Okay, good job. And you can see ships have no mass. Flicker, what have you done? Okay. Hey, you're still here. You might want to join me on Twitter or on Blue Sky.